the Niners extended Colton McKivitz's contract. Colton McKivitz, 1 year, $7 million extension through 2025. The news every 49er fan wanted to hear. Jose, break it down.
I mean, it makes sense, Grant. He was one of the best players on the 49ers last season. He should have got a little more props for the work he did. Is what I would like to say if he actually did deserve it. Where did this come from? Like, I'm just looking through my phone. I see the notification. I'm like, huh? What do you mean extension? Like, I didn't even know he was due for one. I didn't know he was on the last year of his deal, which I guess, like, okay, cool, an extension, but $7 million worth. Which I'm not even sure how that extension was. Does that mean he's going to kick in towards next year, or are they spreading it around? Are they averaging it from this year and next year? Like this, regardless, that it just feels random that they felt like they had to get that done. Look, I know I've seen people talk about like, look, he's an upgrade over McGlinchey, and it's like, is he? He's still pretty bad. It kind of feels the same. The only difference is one got paid heavily, the other one didn't. This just felt like out of left field. I don't want to see the point of it because, again, he had 1 year left in his deal. Like, what does this mean? That means you're locked in with him the next 2 years, kind of, no?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what is the point? So from the Niners' perspective, they like McKivitz so much that they're afraid if they didn't do this extension, wrote it out for the season, that when he hit the market in 2025, he would get what, Mike McGlinchey money? So they think they're getting a bargain. Where we would say, whatever, can't you do better than Colton McKivitz and Mike McGlinchey?
Okay, that means they do believe that
you had this year. You had an opportunity to get someone who'd be better than these guys, and you're cool with the McKivitz, McGlinchey, McKivitz. It's the same name. It's the same player.
I'm going to start calling him McKivitz. Until he starts playing well, he's going to be McKivitz from now on. He's not going to be McKivitz.
68, 69. I mean, it's the same thing. I don't understand. So you got McGlinchey at a discount McGlinchey.
They got McDonald's, basically.
It just, to me, shows that they don't really value the position right tackle.
Okay, you saying that actually got me thinking like towards more of their lens where I'm trying to understand it more. Like, okay, like, look, let's look back to last year. We were criticizing them like, why the hell you guys think McKivitz is your good replacement? But they clearly think he's a fine guy, right? Yeah. Like, they never went to the draft. They never inquired about the free agency. And we criticize him for that. Like, look, the Roosters are going to come like to head, like at some point, like he's going to be like, maybe it's not going to be a weakness shown in the regular season. Could you skate by? We just saw them skate by with McKivitz's being a liability. It's when the playoffs and especially the Super Bowl where we really see like, okay, like now he's starting to be a little exposed now. So clearly they like him. And I think what them doing this means it's, look, we're no guarantee we're going to find a guy, a right tackle in the draft or free agency. Why not do someone we're comfortable with? We know. And possibly, most likely, I think they think that he can get better, which is crazy to me. It's like, you think he can get better? But I definitely see that. Why? Because these guys don't know how to assess offensive linemen like that. They don't. They haven't developed anyone.
Well, to me, I'm going to give him a little more credit than that. Like, Chris Forster's a good coach, but I just feel like what they're aiming for on the offensive line is so low. They're not looking for – they're looking for guys who are good enough, right? And what they would say with Colton McKivitz is, he's good enough. Knows our scheme. He didn't lose the Super Bowl for us. Like, that's the bar for the offense. Everyone except for Trent Williams. Aaron Banks, good enough. Jake Brendel, good enough. Colton McKivitz, good enough. And that's fine. But, like, why is offensive line the position you do that? You don't settle for good enough anywhere else on your team. But you do on the offensive line. Why? Especially after the way you lost the Super Bowl.
You know what's funny is that offensive line, obviously important, done. Everyone will talk about the tackles, but again, as more we're talking, like, you know what? The interiors feels like it's more important than tackles for the 49ers a lot in terms of the run and pass game. I mean, look, there's how many times can we point to the offensive tackles being the reason why the 49ers have lost like a costly game or ended their season? I mean, this past year, interior, 2019 interior, Chris Jones wrecked havoc all day, tipping balls and like making Garoppolo look worse than he already was. And then the year before last, when Purdy, hurt his elbow, tight end, it wasn't a tackle. So, in that standpoint, like, okay, look, if you want to give credit, like, okay, fine, yeah, to this credit, the tackles have been fine in terms of the big moments, in terms of season ending. It's really that interior where teams like really disrupt them. And when teams want to blitz, I don't notice them going around the edges. They just shoot them up the middle and towards like between the centers and the B gap and A gap. So, I mean, if the defense are telling you what your weakness is. If anything, if you want to go poke at that, they tell you what their weakness is. They don't think that it's your edge. Obviously, it's not Trent Williams, but as much as McKivitz's is like not great, like they will go into your interior and try to pick on that.
That being said, depending on where you look, if you go on sysdatahub.com, they got McKivitz giving up 13 sacks last year. And as anyone who watched the Niners play, when they wanted to run the ball successfully, they ran left. Because when they tried to run right, they wouldn't get any push at the point of attack. I mean, the right side of the offensive line hasn't really been good at anything in a while. And the idea of locking in players on that side and acting like you got that solidified is kind of rich. Thought you were sort of the McKivitz experiment felt like a stopgap. Like you didn't have a first round pick, you weren't paying him that much money. See how it goes. It was, mixed results, but now you got a first round pick and now you're going to get that offensive tackle. Psych, we like McKivitz. I almost called him McGlinchey. Sorry. Okay, so you're just going to bring back the entire offensive line the way it was last year. You're just going to chalk it up to continuity and just blame the entire Super Bowl loss on the defense. That's what we're doing here. Really?
Deebo Samuel did say the reason why he's confident the Niners aren't shattered or broke faith is because 95% of the people are coming back. Run it back 5.0, baby. Let's go. All right, look, in defense of this, I'll say McKivitz's guarantees is only 65%, which is what, like 6% of 4 million is, 7 million is like what, 4.5 in that range. So like, okay, like that's not terrible. But look, if most of that guarantee, if not all of it, is next season, then okay, he's probably staying on anyway. So he's gonna see that $7 million. Like I'm a big guarantee guy, but again, it's like if you're gonna see it all, like okay, well, it's gonna be all of it anyways. But yeah, this feels like another kind of a contingency or hedge bet from Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, which is similar to what they did just last week with Nick Sorensen and Brandon Staley.
Yeah, it seems like they're gonna run it back with the same exact offensive line as last year. And Niner fans have been really counting on addressing it this offseason. And they just addressed it.
Rules them out of like finding another person at right tackle for this season? Or you think this kind of pencils them in?
I guess they could draft a right tackle, but not a guy who's going to start right away. So someone in the middle rounds, they could. They probably should. But this is their starting right tackle this year and next year. Okay.
Yeah. Free agency, there's no answers. I took like a nice little 10-minute look at for overall free agency for the first time the other day, and it's like, wow, like tackles, like not like I really thought they were going to go there in the first place because you can't find your answer there in free agency. You had to draft them, but just wanted to peek, and I'm like, what? There's not really many options. There's a lot of interior options you can go for, but no, like yeah. So I guess in that standpoint, find your little safety net and then go for the draft at some point. But yeah, I don't know if they're going to find that necessarily immediate impact starter right from the jump.
Yeah, it just seems like what they'll do is replace Feliciano, sign someone else, or draft someone to be that.
I wouldn't mind bringing Feliciano back versus Burford. I don't want to see Burford at right guard again. Don't put him there.
Well, they got to figure. Maybe that's the position they address. Burford.
I think it is.
He got 2 years under his belt.
I think they're pissed off at the interior. They're tired of that being so squeaky. And look, like Brendel was fine last year, 2023, but 2022, but he's kind of just a guy, right? Like they kind of want maybe more of a look. We talked about why that pass protection was so weird in that final play. Maybe Kyle Shanahan actually views it like that's Brendel's fault for not changing the protection. Why is no one talking about that? Like we all know that Brock Purdy doesn't have like that fingerprints. Like why doesn't he view him like, look, Brendel might not have had like a poor game blocking wise, but where the hell were all these pass protections? Why couldn't this guy check? Like everyone keeps talking about Purdy and Kyle Shanahan. Look, Kyle Shanahan gets blamed for the calling and protections, but to his mind, maybe it's like, look, you are like the brains of the operation, Brendel, and you let us down like so many times. That was putrid. So I'm thinking maybe that's what he's looking at replacement as well, more than he does at the tackles.
You might be right. Interesting call.